Alright, this is our first goal Diggin, and our target is Kiora, Lotus, and Displacer Kitten. So we're looking to use Kiora to untap Timeless Lotus, and with Displacer Kitten, cast a spell off the mana from the Lotus, which will then flip Kiora, so we can untap the Lotus again. We can then incidentally use that to get back more value. As you see here, I'm just highlighting various ones of the card. I did lose audio on the tech. So you see here we have all 10, well, all but one, sorry, all 10 colours represented. What we ultimately are looking to do here is quite simple. We're looking to go, and our primary target is simple. We want Kiora and the Timeless Lotus. That's the goal for the video. If we get Displacer Kitten out, it's a bonus. If we go off for the full combo, where we cast a massive invasion of new Phyrexia, and then give them haste with Law Hold command, that's a bonus. We also have Teferi, who slows the sun to keep it down. So, Kiora Lotus, let's see if we can pull this off. Our opening hand is pretty much unkeepable, so we go here. Double Timeless Lotus, only 2 in the deck, so we'll get rid of 1, put it to the bottom. Our opponent mulligans, and this appears to be an opponent just playing a joke for fun or doing some challenge because he's got a 300 card deck. Sorry, a 250 card deck, which is, I believe, maybe people who are trying to recreate the Battle of Wits card. So we get a 4/4 Kavu on turn 1, and per the rules of the challenge we have to smash in. Even though we are pretty close to the combo here, we have to play optimally as if we're trying to win. So we would not, in this scenario, not attack into our opponent. They let it through and take 4. We'll play the last Triome that we just got, so we have 2 10-power creatures on the field. And our opponent concedes to that. So normally I wouldn't probably have counted this recording, but it was the first game with the deck, and you'll see what happens here in the next match where we go off here. The deck kind of goes off, so I'm really happy to show the interaction and synergies of it. But yes, as per the rules of the challenge, remember, we have to play seriously, so we just can't stall and like lock our opponent out of the game until we hit our combo. If we have an obvious attack or an obvious way to press an advantage, we have to take it. Basically, we have to play to win, is the simplest way to put it. Alright, so, next match. Bearing in mind, our opponent seems to be green-white, 250 cards. This hand is fine, we've got a 40 ratio, a way to dig, and we've got Timeless Lotus. So apparently even Arena wants us to pull off the combo. They play 2 tap lands. We play another tap land because we don't have the colours for the Dragonskull. I want to use 40 ratio here to check their hand, see what they're working with. They have removal, a big guy and a thing, so we'll get rid of their creature. They play a Fall of the Imposter, which prevents us from playing any big creatures here. So with no threat on the board and knowing that they probably don't have a creature in hand, let's just play out the Teferi and start plussing him. We won't even bother on tapping land, there's nothing to fake that we have in hand here. They play a Luminarch Aspirant, play a Bramble Armor, and equip it. So you get up to a 4/3 here. Play a land tapped, use a Vanishing Verse here, and then we'll just plus Teferi again. We'll tap their armor, untap one of our lands, and then we'll use Dissemble the Team. We hit every card of our combo here really, but ultimately I think if we're playing optimally here, we take the Displacer Kitten. We have a Wandering Mind, which is a way to dig, and we can incidentally loop the Teferi here. So play Timeless Lotus. Use Teferi, untap the Lotus. We now have enough mana here, so we will. I decided the more optimal play is to play the Wandering Mind. We find a Kiora. We then play the Kiora, untap the Lotus. Now we've got 5 mana again. We can go Wandering Mind, see what we find. We find an Angrass Rampage and nothing else. Our opponent plays a land, equips the armor to the Ant token, swings in to kill Teferi. We'll just block the big one. We don't care about the Teferi ultimate here. And now we can deploy So we can use all of our untaps here to generate in total, I think, 15 mana. My word. So now we'll deploy the Displacer Kitten. We can use Angra's Rampage, make him sack a creature. We can start blinking the Wandering Mind to find additional spells. So we find a Helix. Ultimately we want to find a spell that doubles up, so we need to find our Niv or something else here. So we're just going to keep blinking the Wandering Mind until we find an advantage spell. Assemble the Team's great here because we can dig for another spell. So we'll cast Assemble the Team. Now we'll flicker Kiora so we can reset her. We find a Niv-Mizzet here, which is the perfect spell here. We'll untap the Lotus, tap the Lotus, play the Niv. Provided we hit something, we find one spell, which sucks here. But fortunately we draw a Kiora off the draw for the power 4. So now we blink the Niv-Mizzet again to find more spells, which we thankfully do. So with our new Kiora here, we can untap the Lotus, tap the Lotus, cast a Fort Erasure, blink Kiora, start making huge amounts of mana, and our opponent concedes. So game 2, match 1, we pull off our synergy, but per rule 2 we have to finish our set. So let's play on here. This hand is pretty sketchy, so we've got to go down, and we've got to go down again. This is a match that we clearly were meant to probably lose, because we had to mull down to 4. But we can on turn 2 dig with the Assemble the Team. We'll play another Triome. Opponent only has 1 blue mana, so they've kept a very greedy hand here, so let's assemble the team. Our hand, in this scenario, based on the spells and things we have here, it's probably better that we take something we can cast and dig with. So we'll take the Wandering Mind. They discard another card. We draw another Wandering Mind. Wandering Mind will find us a Kiora. We can use that to untap lands to cast more spells if we have to. We lose the Wandering Mind to the coil. So we'll cast a Kiora here. There's no point untapping a land because we don't want to. But they find blue mana. They have a consideration what they're going to do. They play the Astral Mage. So we will use Angra's Rampage here and make them sack it. Then use Kiora to untap a land so we can deploy one of these Wandering Minds. Wandering Mind finds us another Rampage. They play another blue. Another Lava Coil for our Wandering Mind. Find another land, put that into play tapped. Use a Wandering Mind. Find Assemble the Team. We'll untap a land here so we can task the Assemble Team now. Optimal play means we should grab Niv-Mizzet. Our opponent plays a Dragonspeaker Shaman. I go back and forth here but decide I'm better to just deploy Niv while they don't have any mana up. We'll find 3 cards and draw a land off Kiora. Fortunately it's not a land that will let us cast any spells, so we'll just pass. Our opponent has the dragon spells reduced by 2, casts a cheap Terror of the Peaks. 1 blue mana open but nothing else to do, so we'll Vanishing Verse Terror. We lose 3 life for targeting it. We can Helix the Dragonspeaker, gain back that 3 life we just lost. Cast a Kavu, draw off Kiora. Swing in for 8, and our opponent is dead if they don't have a way to kill us here, or a way to wipe our board. They play a Lightning Shrieker and spitefully just smack us for 5. We could have maybe untapped Niv so we had a blocker there, but I wasn't expecting a hasty dragon if I was honest. And we killed them on the swing back. So this is a blue-red dragon deck, so I'm not sure what to expect here, but I like the way we played it, so we'll run it back with this. This 7 is keepable. We can go for a turn 2 Kavu if we want to. They probably have an answer to that, so we'll just get it down now. They play a Gutter Snipe. We play another land here. We can use the Helix to kill Gutter Snipe. Swing in with the Kavu. We will exile the Gutter Snipe because we have a land play and we have 2 spells we can cast. They're up to 4 mana now. They Lava Coil the Kavu. We could play another Kavu here, which we do. We'll use the Fabled Passage to get Forest, putting our Kavu to a 4/4 and letting us cast Assemble the Team. We get negated there, which is fine. We still have an active 4/4. They play a Gutter Snipe. We'll play a Triome. We'll cast the Displacer Kitten and we'll swing in with the Kavu. I'm going to loot here, get rid of the Lorehold command, see if we can find some more action. We find a Sulfur Falls. Opponent goes down to 5 mana and plays a Terror of the Peaks. We find a Teferi who slows the sunset. So, I'm going to swing in with the Kavu. I'm going to discard the Sulfur Falls. We draw another land. Opponent lets it through. So, we play the tap land, we'll play the Teferi, blink the Kavu so we have another blocker. I consider my options here. I'm going to plus, and I'm going to just tap their creature down and tap our land, just to fake that we have a spell. They get a Terror of the Peaks here and use the trigger to kill the Displacer Kitten. Hold back a blocker. I consider minusing here, so ultimately do, and we find perfect, we find Niv-Mizzet, so we'll cast, play a Fable, play a land, grab the mountain, cast Niv-Mizzet, find a full spread of hands, reload, use the Vanishing Verse to kill the Terror, if we can, but they have another negate, we take 2 off the Gutter Snipe. We're attacking for 5 here, loot away the Yasharn. They go down to 2. So they are dead to a Helix if we can find it. And they realise that Teferi could tap down the thing and we could swing in for lethal with Niv. So let's go to our last match we'll play here. So, one thing I will say here, if you're going to build the deck like this, put in board wipes. I learned this after, not this match, but when I tested more and more after this. So our opponent plays 2 free equipment and appears to be mono white. So I'm thinking this is a Hammer Time variant. I have a friend at store who plays Hammer Time in every format, so we'll loot away. There are some bombs for Hammer Time if we find it. We're going to play the Kiora here because it means we can untap lands if we need to. We desperately do need to find blue mana though, so we're going to discard one of the kittens. We do find a Triome for blue, so we'll pass. Our opponent passes again, they seem to be struggling for mana, so let's crack this Fable before we go into combat. And our opponent just concedes because we hit our 5th land and they did not. Right, so we bring in sacrifice effects. We take out the Lorehold command, the Invasion of New Phyrexia and Yasharn and the Teferi. We also take out the 40 Erasures here and bring in the Drown the Locks, because if they're Hammer Time they'll be low to the ground and they'll be able to kill most of the things. This is a questionable 7 on the play. I'll keep it though, because we have all of our colours covered. They are indeed Boros, and there's a Sigarda's Aid and a Calliope Scamp. We don't have a kill for that now, so we just gotta pray we don't have a big hit. They equip a Swiftfoot Boots thinking they're safe, but thankfully we have an Angrass Rampage, so we'll force them to sack their creature. We take a damage off that, we'll play a land. We have optimal play here is play Kavu, so we can put a board presence down. Our opponent uses a Fateful Absence to kill it. Plays a Flame Blade Charger and equips Swiftfoot to it. We take 1. We'll play a Wandering Mind while we're on. We find an Invasion of Asgul. Invasions and battles are really good with the Displacer Kitten just because of the infinite shenanigans you can pull off there. They play another Calliope Scamp and we'll trade. I'm not sure why they swung in there. We'll play the Invasion of Asgul. We're still struggling for lands here. Could desperately use one. Opponent plays another land. Plays the Urabrask Forge. Hits us with a 1/1. We got to stop that before it gets out of control, so we'll Vanishing Verse it because it is red. Our opponent plays Fighter Class and finds their Hammer Time, well, their Colossus Hammer. We find our 4th land finally. So with lands to go, I choose my options here. I play Kiora, untap with Kiora, and I'm going to untap so that I can cast a Vanishing Verse at instant speed if they try to equip the Swiftfoot Boots to a creature. However, our opponent just levels up their Fighter Class. So it goes up to level 2, which reduces the cost, so we'll just Vanishing Verse the Sigarda's Aid now. We find our 5th land here, so we're going to throw out Niv-Mizzet. We get the Niv trigger and draw for Kiora. We find another Edict effect, which will be perfect to deal with anything crazy that they might have. We'll get rid of Assemble the Team and Angrath Rampage. I'm still going to hold on to the Kitten just in case we can pull off the synergy. They have a Zagoth Triome into a Flame Blade, into a Hammer, and into a Swiftfoot Boots. So we have to block here. When this creature dies, we're going to take 11. So we need to not let it hit us at all. So, thinking about my options here, I'm going to use Invasion of Asgul and force him to sack the Flame Blade Charger. Now I pretty much have to hold up the Lightning Helix or Drown in the Loch now for the rest of the game because we are on Death's Door. They cast a Forge anew. It lets them return artifacts from the graveyard, but they don't have one. It also gives them a second equip for free. So we just got to make sure. So we'll crack a clue, find a bunch of lands that we've been waiting for. We'll cast a Displacer Kitten, untap a land with Kiora, pass back. We can also use Displacer Kitten to flicker a Kavu to keep drawing off Kiora if we have to. So that's what I'm considered doing here. But I'm just going to untap here for fun and use the Assemble the Team, blink a Kiora. The Assemble Team finds us not a lot, so in this scenario it might actually be better to take Lotus, but I decided on the Wandering Mind because I ultimately just need to have a handful of answers. Plus, Displacer Kitten flickering a Wandering Mind is just as valuable. I have a Skeleton Swarming to inevitably swarm away with the game. I'm sorry, that was terrible, but I had to say it. We'll hit them with the Displacer Kitten. On their turn, they go for a Kemba. We'll use a Drown in the Loch so that doesn't even enter the battlefield. Then we'll blink a Wandering Mind, grabbing us a Vanishing Verse. And our opponent concedes to that. So a successful first mission. Look for a new one next week.